This is Kansas City. A growing metro area with a redeveloping downtown, thriving food scene, prominent sports teams, and a hub of jazz. Kansas City is now experiencing a tourism boom and... Wait, hold on a second. What series is this? This isn't how things are supposed to go. Maybe I left out how the crime rates are pretty high here, but how has Kansas City fallen when it's doing so well? Oh, okay, we're just gonna move on then? Alright, let's see how things used to be around here. Hey guys, just butting in really quickly. I just want to remind you all to like the video down below if you enjoy it, and please subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Now back to the video. All jokes aside, Kansas City is not a fallen city in the traditional sense that has been spoken about on this channel before, but it has fallen in a way that I think many American cities, even the ones that are the most successful, can relate closely to. Kansas City was once a physical jewel of a city. It was an architectural and urban design masterpiece. A city that if it stood in the same way today would be a place all Americans would feel excessively proud of. But Kansas City was a victim of one of the darkest forces of the post-war mid-20th century, urban renewal and sprawl. The sprawl of Kansas City is extreme, to say the least. A favorite but tragic stat in the urbanism world is about Kansas City, whose population from 1940 to 1960 grew by 18%, but its physical size doubled. Think about that. All that infrastructure, from roads to pipes to power lines and to highways, had to greatly expand, which is extremely costly, but with only a moderate increase in population. This puts a greater burden on Kansas City taxpayers. But this is a phenomenon that has been experienced all throughout the country, and a big reason as to why cities have never been more broke, and why infrastructure is so expensive to upgrade and therefore has fallen behind. And since 1960, it has only swelled even larger, despite a moderate growth rate. The town of Olathe is 20 miles away from downtown Kansas City, and even as of 1990 was very much its own entity, but now has been completely swallowed by sprawl. The same is true for Lee Summit and Blue Springs. Some of you may say that this is inevitable for a growing city, and while that may be true, the pace in which Kansas City has grown physically does not align with its population growth. And the neighborhoods they do build are extremely sprawling and wasteful in their designs. The residents of Kansas City suburbs live a lifestyle of pure car-centric suburbia. And the shame of this is that suburbia is actually part of the historical fabric of the city. But because Kansas City once had an elaborate streetcar network that gave rise to beautiful streetcar neighborhoods. Streetcar neighborhoods were a feature all across the US as America led the world in this kind of development. They're what allowed for people to live in less dense, quiet neighborhoods with their own home, but without sacrificing key urban principles, such as a local commercial center that allows for communities and local businesses to thrive, walkability so that people don't have to live their lives in isolation, and easy access to the whole city so that you don't need a car to get around. But with the way things are now, perhaps people still get to live in less dense, single-family neighborhoods, but these urban principles that are so crucial in terms of quality of life and creating beautiful places are now long gone, in favor of endless asphalt, traffic, and paving over more beautiful land than was ever necessary. Even the streetcar suburbs have been morphed into a lesser version of their former selves. And this doesn't even get into what happened with the downtown. As you would have seen in the montage, so much of the beautiful urban center of Kansas City was destroyed. And for the usual suspects, parking lots, highways, skyscrapers, and whatever else the modernists had up their sleeves. The highway projects were pretty much as destructive as you can get, with a full-on freeway loop being placed right in the heart of one of America's cultural gems, with its 6 different branches only rubbing salt in the wounds, dividing up neighborhoods and isolating the downtown even further. And then, perhaps even more painfully, the Highway 71 branch was only built in the late 1990s, showing you just how recent this type of development was. But the naysayers might go, well, wasn't this essential for traffic? Wouldn't the city have been at a complete standstill if it wasn't for all this destruction and uglification? Well, let's see how traffic is holding up on the old freeway loop. Aw man, it's always so predictable, but also tragic. Streets as rich in culture and vibrancy as you can get were laid to waste to make way for a highway system that has completely failed. And yes, while Kansas City does have a redeveloping downtown, the quality of the buildings now versus then isn't even a competition. And so while there are at least attempts to make use of this land in a better, more efficient way, including the construction, or more accurately, reconstruction of one of Kansas City's old streetcar lines, bringing Kansas City back to its glory days in terms of its thriving urban fabric and architectural dexterity seems far out of reach. But there are many cities with quite the similar fate. Dallas and Houston are 2 of the most booming cities in the country, but their sprawl, their ugliness, as well as their long-lost beautiful cityscapes and eradication of their human-oriented lifestyles is very much apparent. And in the conversation of housing and urban development across the country, this has to be kept in mind, because not only is this type of development unsustainable, but it results in a depressing lifestyle. It rejects these cities' histories and traditions. It promotes the ugly rather than the beautiful, and it makes the places worth preserving and remembering bulldozed, replaced, and forgotten. And that simply is not how you build and maintain a society with a sense of pride, unity, and community. But unlike some of the other cities that we have covered, Kansas City does have a culture and a sense of pride in its history. It isn't a lost cause. There is a sense of positivity in the air, and money is coming into the city. And so the potential to put things right not only is there, but very well could be met with overwhelming support. Let's make Kansas City's glorious past more well known, and maybe there's a chance. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And of course, a shout out to my Master Architect patrons: Jean Baptista, Michael Goldman, Ulysses Arnold, Ehsan Mirza, Joseph, Sven Weisbrod, Andrew Groger, Roach, Eric Martz, James Gearhart, Ruben Hansen, and my dad.